Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're going to be covering custom landscapes, and as you can see I have actually created this, which at the moment this is the closest I have actually been able to get to chapter 4 terrain without actually having any errors. I can still launch this game and play it both in private and public games. As you can see, we have obviously custom hill textures, also custom grass, and we do also have some 3D grass, which is some flowers, and also normal grass. Now, it's not perfect. I still need to do quite a lot of work to make it perfect, but I just want to show you how I've done this so you guys can obviously start, and then you guys can obviously adjust it as you want. So let's now quickly just get going with this. So first thing you want to do is obviously have your terrain. Once you have a terrain set, you then want to right click and go to the material as you want to make a new material. Now you want to name this obviously whatever you want it to be called, so something related to your landscaping would probably be good so you remember it's for landscaping. I have called it tutorial landscape just because obviously then that tells me that it's the tutorial landscape. So you should have something that looks like this, just one singular bar with nothing else on the actual screen. Let's now quickly just drag this up there so it's obviously connected to our project so we can obviously view it a lot better. You then want to right click and search get material attributes as you want to input that. You also want to import one that's called landscape layer blend, so once you obviously have them imported, you also want to import one called blend material attributes. And how you get these is you literally just right click anywhere on this screen and then you obviously search them, or you can look for them if you know where they are. So we now have a blend material attributes, a landscape layer blend, and a get material attributes. The next thing you want to do is import your textures. So in this case, we are going to go for the exact same I have inside of the game that I just showed you. So the chapter 4 stuff. So how you actually find that is you go to Fortnite, then textures, then landscape, and if we quickly just open up this, as you can see, they are right here. So the one I'm actually using within the world or within this project is the actual Asteria Rock Cliff 03. And you need the actual free setting or free textures for it. So it's the D, you also need the N, and you also need the S. So then you can select all them and then you drag them into the actual project. Now this is the cliff. Obviously you can just make a cliff only texture if you want, but we want grass for this. You can also do obviously mud, gravel, sand, but in this case we're just going to obviously do the grass. So we want to go down, and as you can see in the same actual folder, Fortnite textures landscape, we can now grab the 3 actual grass textures. These don't have to be from the actual Fortnite textures landscape files. You can go and import your own material layers and drag them up here. We are obviously just doing this because this is what I have currently, and I want to show you obviously how to make the chapter 4 terrain as well as how to make your custom terrains. If you're doing this in your own project, just change these textures out for other textures if you obviously don't want the chapter 4 terrain. We then want to import a set material attributes, so let's quickly just grab that. And as you can see, we now have that right there. Let's also actually just select these 3 and move them down, and then we're going to select these 3 and move them across so it makes a bit more sense for us to actually work with. So now we have the set material attributes here. We want to go over to the side here and click plus on the actual thing so it adds some arrays. Now we want base color, we also want metallic, we also want specular, we also want roughness, and finally instead of this last one we want to set this to normal. So you should have 5 arrays, one of base color, one of metallic, one of specular, one of roughness, and one of normal. Now you can just connect these straight over, but we're going to add some color difference to them because let's say you want the actual mountains to be a bit darker. So you want to import this thing right here, which you get by clicking the number 3 on your keyboard and then just left clicking, and as you can see you import that. You then also want a multiply, which you get by clicking M on your keyboard and then left clicking. So now we have these things right here. What you want to do is you want to connect this up here to A and then this right here to B. You want to make sure the one you're connecting to the multiply is the one labeled with D. And then this end one right here will go to base color. Then you want to go and find the N, which in this case it's this one. So this is going to attach to normal, and you need to attach the RGB part. Now this final one down here should be the S. Yes, it is. So what you want to do is green should apply to metallic, red should apply to specular, and blue should apply to roughness. Now, if you want to see what this looks like, you can click on this and click start previewing node. And as you can see, eventually it will show us what it looks like right here. That is way too dark. So what we're going to do is click on this and change the black right here to be a little bit whiter. So let's now change it to white. And as you can see, the cliff is now a lot whiter. If you obviously want to change it, so let's say you want it to be a red cliff for some reason, maybe you're making a map where it's red, as you can see it's now red. So the color all depends on whatever the color is here. As you can see, it's now a light blue. If you obviously want it to be the default color, you literally just have to connect the RGB right here just straight to base color, and you can ignore these two actual assets right here. But we want it to be light blue. I think that looks cool. Now, we want to actually copy these, so let's quickly just select that, and select that. And we want to copy them by doing Control C, and then we want to paste them down here, because basically it's just the same thing, but with the grass now. So let's quickly just do this over again. We want to do the actual normal to there, so it has the green color. But obviously we want this to be, let's say, green, not blue, because this is grass. We need to do the S, which obviously green goes to metallic, red goes to specular, and blue goes to roughness. And then we need to connect the normal one to normal. So there we go. That is now both the cliff and the grass connected up. So this is where the blend material attributes comes into play. So what you want to do now, you have your blend material attributes right here. You want to drag your grass layer, so whatever you want the top layer to be, whether that's sand, gravel, or something like that, you want that to be dragged to B. If you set your grass to A, then it will set your grass as the bottom layer, which obviously you don't want. So you want to make sure your grass or your sand is B, and then you want to drag your cliff over to the actual A. So now if we actually preview this node, you will see that it's very scuffed because, okay, it's actually purely black at the moment. Let's fix that. We now want to go to Epic and type in slope mask. So let's quickly just get this. Yes, this thing right here. You want to drag that into the project. And as you can see, it will open up this thing with 4 options. So now you want to click 1 and click. That will open up a value. You then want to do that again, so you have 2 of the values. And once again, they're just gotten by clicking 1 on your keyboard and then left clicking. And then you want to get one of these again, which is 3 and click. So, or you can literally just copy this and paste it if you want to. It's not a big deal. So what you want to do is connect this top thing up to the top one, and then the 2 values to the bottom 2, leaving the middle one with nothing connected. And then the result needs to go to the alpha of the blend material attributes. And if we now click this and okay, it is previewing. So now what we need to do is basically set these. It basically tells you what it does right here, the fall off power and the cheap contrast. So to get the actual chapter 4 terrain I've currently got, these are the values. So the actual X and Y on this top one is 0, and then the Z is 0.3. The value of the fall off power is 0.52. And then the value of the cheap contrast is 192.784912. And that's what I have. And as you can see now, viewing it right here, you can see the grass is only at the very top and then the cliff is at the sides. So what you want to do now is import landscape chords, which you can obviously do just by right clicking and then typing in landscape chords. And you want 2 of these. So you can either do the same thing again, or you can literally just copy and paste it down. And you basically want to connect this up to the UVs. So let's quickly just do that. So that one is connected to the UVs of the grass. And if we quickly just set this one up to the UVs of the cliff. And this basically just tells the game how big your landscaping should be. So we'll cover that in a second once we jump back to the game. But now you should have something that looks like this. And I know it looks a lot more confusing than it actually is. Once you know like where you're connecting everything up to, it's actually pretty simple. So we now have this. The ending point currently is the blend material attributes. We now want to grab the landscape layer blend and right click on that, or no actually, click on it so it's selected and then go down here and add a layer. This is now the layer that will show up in your paint section. So naming this you want to name it something that you will remember. And as you can see, we have now done that. So now we will actually know that this is our tinted grass that is blue. So whenever we go to paint something, we'll know that we're painting with the blue tinted grass. Now, another thing, if you want to add more than one layer, so let's say you want red tinted grass, you would have to obviously copy this. If you want the same cliff, then you just can connect the cliff to it again. But for example, so let's just say you want to make a whole new paint layer that uses red. What you want to do is, let's quickly just move that out of the way. You basically just want to copy everything here and then go down a little bit and paste it. And as you can see, we now have the same thing right here. And then let's quickly just grab this right here. Let's move that down so it's in between the two. This is obviously the landscape layer. We want to click on that and add a new one. And we're going to call this one red grass. And basically, as you can see, we now have blue and red. So what we want to do is that top one right there is going to be our blue. If we literally just go here and change this value right here to be red, that is literally all we need to do. And now we have a whole new asset right here. That would now be red grass. If you want to obviously view it, you just go to the actual blend material attributes, right click and start previewing node. And as you can see, it's now red cliffs. If you want the grass color to change rather than the cliff, obviously you just change the grass one. But this is something you would mess around with yourself to obviously get whatever you want to build working. You would mess around with the actual colors of your grass and cliff. You can also mess around with these to actually like pick how much grass is covering. Now what you want to do is, once you have your two layers, you want to connect your obviously layer. So this is our blue one. We want to connect that up to blue, and that is connecting the actual blend material attributes to the actual landscape layer blend. And then we want to connect the red one up with the red. So there we go. We now have them two connected to the landscape layer blend. Now that is almost it done. So let's now get this, and then we also need this thing up here. So what we now want to do is click on this, or we can actually connect them two together because they need to be connected. But we now want to add once again all of the actual values to this. So base color, metallic, specular, roughness, and also change this one to actual normal, which we have now done. And then you basically just want to connect these up to the correct versions over here. So if we quickly just do that, that's wrong. Let's connect that up to roughness and then connect that to normal. That should now technically be our actual materials done. Let's quickly just save the actual game, or save this by clicking that button up there. So it actually saves all the stuff we have made within this tutorial landscape. So now what you want to do is you want to select your landscape. Because I don't actually want to mess with any of this landscape, I'm going to paste in a new landscape just for a split second. But if you do want to change the texture of current landscape, all you need to do is go to selection mode, click on the landscape, make sure you have the whole file selected, so everything within the actual folder, and then you want to scroll down, and as you can see, landscape material, you just want to change this to the material you have just made. We're just going to do it from a new landscape just so I don't mess up anything I've done. So now what we're going to want to do is import that, which I called it tutorial landscape. So let's set that as the material, and then we just want to make it small. We don't really want it to be too big, so let's just make it 10 by 10 because I'm going to delete this afterwards anyway. And there we go. So if I now quickly just move it up a bit just so it's above the water so I can see what we're doing. So now, as you can see, as I said, it is pure black. What we now need to do is basically paint it, which you can do by going to the paint section. But as you can see, sometimes there will not actually be any layer info added. You basically need to add that, and how you do that is just by clicking the plus sign that says create layer info. It will come up with an option that says, I think, weighted or non-weighted. Click weighted. And then what you want to do after that is it will basically just save it, and you basically just need to apply it. In this case, it's automatically given us the actual layer info, which is good. So then what you want to do is, as you can see, by painting with the actual blue, it's now painting our terrain with that color. So I've now painted the whole thing. Let's quickly just actually sculpt a little bit of it so you guys can obviously see what it looks like. I'm not going to make this look nice at all. It looks very like Lego-y. That's weird. I didn't expect it to look like that, but it does. Now I'll show you how to fix a few problems in a minute. But as you can see, it's currently the blue one. All we need to do if we want to change to the red one, we just need to basically just click paint. Okay, it seems like the red version didn't actually make the terrain red for some weird reason, which I'll fix in a second. But as you can see, the blue and the white is two different actual terrains, which we have obviously done. Now, as you can see, the terrain is very like pushed together. You can see if I go close up to it, the actual like texturing of it isn't that spaced out. So let's quickly just fix that. You want to go back to your tutorial landscape, and what you now want to do is go up to these things right here. So we want to actually make the landscape or the actual cliff a bit spaced out. So we want to go to mapping scale and set that to about 10. I found is the best, but you can obviously mess around with it. Set it to higher, set it to lower. Let's once again set that to 10. So the actual green one. Now let's save that. And then if we go back to the project, as you can see, just jumping straight back into it, the actual texture is a lot more spaced out now. It's not as pushed in and close up anymore. Let's now cover how to add custom grass. Now what I mean by grass is I mean 3D grass that you obviously walk through and will flow in the wind. So what you want to do is you actually want to go to the actual bottom and copy the slope mask, the actual thing right here with a color, and then the two actual values. You want to click all them and then copy them and paste them somewhere different. So let's just paste them right here. So you want to right click and import the actual one that is landscape grass output. Once you have that, you then want to click it. I think it's L and left click. Yes, it's L and left click. So L on your keyboard and then left click and you'll be given this lerp. You then also want to right click and import a landscape. It would help if I could spell it correctly. A landscape layer sample. And this landscape layer sample needs to be renamed the exact same. You have to have it exact same as the actual landscape you want the grass to be on. So in this case, let's say we want it on the actual, let's say we want it on the blue. We want the red to be grass free. If you want it on the actual red as well, you obviously then need to copy this and rename that to the red one. But in this case, we're only going to make it for the blue one. So let's click on this. And we're going to go to the array where it's blue. And we're basically just going to copy this and paste it over just so we know it's the exact same. So parameter name, we just want to paste that right there. There we go. As you can see, it's now called blue tinted grass. So you now want to connect this actual landscape to the B and this slope mask to the actual alpha. And then all of this, once you've connected that to the alpha, all this should already be connected because you obviously just copied it from over there. You then just want to connect the lerp to the actual grass right there. And that obviously now has created a grass layer for the actual blue tinted glass. And that is go back to our actual files. So let's go back to ours. We need to right click. Yes, we need to go down to foliage and then click on the landscape grass type. And once you've done that, you want to rename this to be whatever you want. So in this case, we're going to name it bluegrass because obviously it's going on the blue landscape. Once you have this, you want to double click it to open it. As you can see, we've now opened it and I've been given this screen right here. You want to add an array. And as you can see, it now opens up a load of different options. This is the mesh, so this is what the grass will look like. It can literally look like whatever you want. You can add custom mushroom meshes if you really want to, and have it look like that. You can literally add the switch device. Now, some obviously might cause errors because there is a lot of errors with disallowed objects at the moment, so some could cause that. But you basically just want to import whatever you want your grass to be. You then also want to override material, and you obviously want to input your material. So in this case, let's put grass material and let's also put the actual mesh as grass. You then want to do the grass density. So this basically means how thick your grass is. The higher it is, the thicker it will be. The lower it is, the more rare it will be and the more spread out it will be. And then there are a load more actual different options you can go through and change. I'm not going to go through all of them because you guys obviously need to go through them and change them and adjust them yourselves. One that I will note is the actual scaling. You can actually make it so there's some small grass and some tall grass and it scales between. by just changing that to 3 and then changing the actual assets how you want it. And also if you want more than one grass types, let's say you want one grass and 8 different flower types, you'll then just add more arrays and edit these with then let's say flowers right here. Then let's say we add another one for mushrooms. You then just add as many of these as you want and adjust them as you want. So for now, we literally just want the grass. So we want to save this because we've added our grass and we've added our texture. Now, once you've done that, you then need to go back to your landscaping material and you basically need to go to the actual landscape grass right here. So the one that you've connected up, and as you can see, grass type, you then want to click on that. And as you can see, our blue grass is now here, which we want to select. If you do not select it right there, it will then not appear. So now, technically, if we quickly just save this and go back to the actual project, we should now technically have grass on our blue layer. Yep, as you can see, it's loaded. And we now have really thick tall grass because obviously I set the settings to be absolutely insane. As you can see, it's covering absolutely everything. We obviously just need to adjust that to make it so it's thick, less thick and stuff like that. But that's once again something that you can mess around with and adjust to how your terrain looks. Let's quickly just cover 2 more things. The first thing, if you want to make terrain like chapter 4, this is how I've done it. So I've obviously used the grass and I've used the actual cliffs. The cliff actual landscape coords is set to 10, 7, 7, 3, 1, 8, 3. And the grass is set to just 10. The grass tint color is set to, if I quickly just check, it's set to the hex liner as 135A49F. So you can set that, and then the cliff is literally just set to white. Then if you want to pause the video and copy these settings, this is the layer bend for the actual cliff and the grass, so you can copy them if you want to. And that's basically it. That's how I've got the chapter 4 terrain. I then also do have one up here of dirt, which you can see as the paths. And the reason I don't actually have a cliff up here is because I'm literally just using the same cliff as down here. As you can see, the cliff right here goes to there. And it also goes up to that one as well, because you can reuse the same assets more than once. And this is what my actual grass looks like. As you can see, it's exactly the same as the one I've just done. But there is one last thing you might want to add. If you want to add custom caves to your actual terrain, you will then need to add this landscape visibility mask, which if we quickly just go back to the tutorial, you can find that by right clicking and typing in visibility. And as you can see, landscape visibility mask. You then want to select your tutorial landscape or whatever you named your actual landscape. So the thing that connects everything together. You want to select that and go down to blend mode and set that to mask. And as you can see, the actual settings right here has added a new option called opacity mask. You basically just want to connect the landscape visibility to that. And that will then make it so you can carve out areas with the visibility tool and make custom caves. But anyway, that is where I'm going to end this video. That is how you make custom landscaping, also how you make chapter 4-ish terrain with no errors. I can launch this game and it will not give me no errors at all. And I can also publish the game with no errors. It's obviously not exactly chapter 4 terrain, but you guys can adjust the textures however you want. You can make them to be sandstone, you can make them to be gravel, you can make them to be wooden if you really want to. So just mess around with them, adjust settings how you want, and I guess I'll see you guys in another tutorial. If you have any questions, do leave them down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!